Attention gamers. Playing League of Legends in your own elo and caring about your rank is about as fun as dating a prude, which is why there's a smurfing epidemic, because it's just more fun to bully kids who aren't as good as you, which has resulted in unprecedented inflation of Iron accounts being sold for hundreds of dollars. This indirectly is killing the Iron Spectates meta, because the majority of accounts down in this piss pit are coded bots that are designed to do the bare minimum in a game to avoid Riot's bot detection, which was likely coded by a single unpaid intern in 2004, and thus most accounts down here aren't even real players, don't have tons of games or deaths to show, and thus finding a hidden gem like this, with over 250 games just this split at Iron 4.0 LP, is a breath of fresh air, as we get to see someone who is just ride or die, doesn't give a fuck mentality about meta or how to play this game, because they are just jamming out. And today we are going to enjoy this spectacle to reminisce on what it's like to be so new to a game without a care in the world about min-maxing anything. But if you want this feeling again for yourself, you can try out Corepunk, the sponsor of this video. Corepunk is the newest disruptor in the open-world MMORPG genre, as its developers have added aspects from MOBAs, ARPGs and other genres. It's a universe full of beautiful themes as you build your character up and explore their open world. You start by picking a character depending on your playstyle, as they all have different specs and abilities, and then you complete quests, smash through mobs and level up while collecting resources throughout the world and using them to craft dank new equipment and weapons. The character building is deep through talents and gear, and then you can team up, test your skills in ruthless open world PvP or sweet boss style group based challenges, all while maintaining that MMO feel of walking into a city fully kitted feeling like a badass. The game is still in very early access, which means the devs are probably sleep deprived but also extremely receptive to any feedback, as they are shipping updates constantly. So if you'd like to experience a game for the first time again while getting in early enough to impact its direction, check out any of the game packs you can get before November 26th, ranging from the base game to the Ultimate Plus package with tons of in-game skins, using my link in the description. And let's get back to Shitty League. Alright, for the sake of the video we will just call this absolute savage of a player Binky. And as you can see, Binky always methodically plans out his first purchase, often taking extra time before leaving to lane to deliberate, before of course deciding to start boots on this Shaco support pick. But you see, when you opt to not buy the single option designed for the role you selected, you can rush into that third bush before your enemies can see, and Binky knew this. As you can see, he had big plans. The second that dragon tadpole of a marksman entered lane, he would welcome her to lane by immediately blowing an exhaust and proceeding to prison shank her to death, which honestly was looking great. But you can tell Binky felt bad for how one-sided this game was gonna go if he didn't hold back, and he's a charitable Chester the Jester, so he opened up his heart and gave a quick handout to level the playing field. Then upon resing, you can see him just wearing in those Nikes that he opted to buy at the start of the game, before seemingly forgetting something at home, and right when you think he was going back to buy something, he reveals that no one will ever be able to guess his next move by buying absolutely nothing else. But Binky gets back to lane paths through his patented clown cove through the tall weeds to hit Senna with a quick "Hey, what's up girl?" before proceeding to head back to Narnia. He stays 2 zip codes away from Wave, far away from gaining XP for reasons that our research staff are still trying to determine, before deciding that he will escort his carry back to base because he cares and wants to make sure she can find her way back to lane. Then after 4 minutes, despite his best efforts, Binky hits level 2 and celebrates by getting rooted while AFK auto-attacking a cannon minion. This encounter leaves him with less health than a type 2 diabetic who records mukbangs for a living, and you can see he backs off to get some space and process how he should respond. Back to the Binky bush is the decision, as he deploys a few jack-in-the-boxes there with the flawless plan of baiting a bitch into his little fear factory, which results in him back in the clown cove both oomed and looking doomed. But when a real hero is one shot on his back and out of resources, he steps the fuck up, uses his last bit of mana to port into danger, and straight chucks his summoners at a bitch while saying a prayer that unfortunately doesn't get answered this time. This is followed by a period of reflection where a normal player would say this man is flat AFK and trolling, but the educated among us can just see that he opted into waiting that extra 45 seconds to buy his second book. Then the real 200 IQ strats come out as Binky pitches a tent in the bush behind his 4-plated tier 1 turret, which is almost too big brain for us mere mortals to comprehend, but dude is playing 5D chess by himself it appears, so he instead opts into taking the golems. This ends up looking like a bare knuckle Makora, a true battle to the death in a close contest, but thankfully at the last second his jungle bails him out to help leash him in stealing his own camp. But seeing as there's no other jungle camps in the area left to challenge Chuckle anymore, he is back in the Clown Cove because he knows he's fallen just a bit behind the pack in levels from all of his travels. He paces around trying to get their attention for a bit before blinking and seemingly surprising himself before getting stunned and introduced to an airborne blood clot that apparently had some beef with Binky. That said, it's okay because it's all about tempo, and he knew he would get back just in time to see a full-blown fight in river where he can sit in the bush some more until he made his move. The jacked red blood cell was low and he was gonna kill. The mitosis did throw him off a bit as he couldn't decide which baby blob to attack. Of course the enemy team is way better than his, so they all rotate, and despite having the power to execute a 10 health jungler who has no cooldowns, he has to keep it in his pants and save it to fight another day, as you can see him run all the way back to Narnia just to be safe, as that's recommended best practice in this case. His ADC is getting her dick wrangled, which for no reason is due to his own performance, as he is straight Nick Avocado aka 2 steps ahead, and you can see that by his next plan. He sets up a double D caliber booby trap, knowing that the possibility of surprising someone in this bush is better than defending his tower, but it turns out the man can do them both kind of, as he abandons his Bloons tower defense loadout to generously advise the windshitter on how to get a kill. But without the mental pressure of having to worry about his own tier 1 tower and playing around keeping that stupid statue alive, he can be free in his creativity, which in this case means he can go full-blown Shiv Shank redemption, which only gets ruined by the fact that the enemy jungler is clearly camping his lane for attention, knowing this Shaco is going to be featured in a random robot voice virgin's YouTube video one day. This is followed by another extended meditation session, because you don't survive almost 300 games in Iron 4 without a tilt-proof mentality. As you can tell, this guy just breeds that Andrew Huberman breathing exercises bullshit to fully detilt when things are going poorly, before killing 2 birds with 1 stone by using the extra gold he got from sitting in base for the last minute to upgrade one of his items. And there's something to be said about leaving base feeling so rejuvenated, full of life, energy, and ready to take on the world no matter what it throws at you. At this point the little circus clown might be a level 5 in a world where some people are 12s, but it's all for the disrespect factor, because even though he didn't manage to steal that AIDS-ridden booger's blue buff, can you imagine if he did? As he keeps his cool, knowing that no boneless slime is going to be able to punish him in his super thought-out escape routes. But it's now the time Binky has been waiting for, preparing for, building rapport with this specific bush so that he could know every inch of this battlefield in case a war were to break out, and unfortunately he got thrown off by some fat ginger diabetic messing with his plan, otherwise it would have gone smoother. That said, his team finally starts agreeing to play at his pace, which consists of some red-collar crimes in the theft and burglary category, and the natural reaction to the authorities arriving is obviously to run straight up to them and say good luck guessing which clown stole your red buff when there are 2 of them, bitch. But unfortunately Binky wasn't prepared for them to just punish both. This prompts another bout of reflection. Hit that fountain meditation, 2 deep breaths in and 1 out, and just when you thought this was going to be a quick AFK session in fountain, Binky hits you with the 180. Bitch, I'm going back, and why, you might ask? To sell his fucking Oblivion Orb like a total Chad. This is obviously because every single player on their team has healing in their kit minus the Smolder, who bought Heart Steel, and he wanted to encourage team fighting, but they were avoiding it when he had anti-heal, so he took 1 for the team and created that extra incentive for them to want to engage, and honestly the plan worked to perfection. Sure, he died, but that's just what heroic martyrs do when they are called to action. At this point he has managed to stay at almost half the level of his foes, but these incompetent swine just don't understand math, as 2 of him at level 8 equals a total of 16, which puts him at the oldest and clearly the wisest. But unfortunately his diabetic ginger of a teammate isn't willing to be a wingman, so he pays the price of thinking this is a team game. Then there's the start of an A-ram forming mid, but Binky knows he's slippier than a bathtub at P. Diddy's house, so it doesn't matter if he gets the attention of 3 of them. Make that 4 forgot the herpes goo, because you have to think this man doesn't belong in Iron when he is single-handedly distracting almost the entire enemy team away from all the free objectives on the map for his team to get. And while you may be thinking Binky clearly wasn't overburdened with an abundance of schooling growing up, but you have to consider his team has a wind shitter who is clearly hard feeding the enemy, so no one can be expected to thrive in a situation like this. This results in their base getting broken into, which is a crime, but that's child's play considering one player is dressed like the Joker himself, and this Joker knows exactly the priority targets to focus as he devotes all his power onto the ADC and then deciding to fight front to back instead before realizing his efforts aren't appreciated anyway. That said, it was clearly a successful defense, as we can see a nostalgic blast from the past back in the bot lane, as he is now old enough for his little mini games to work out exactly how he wants, but crikey, he didn't expect a little swamp puppy to attend the gangbang, and at this point you just gotta feel bad for the guy because it's just a matter of bad luck really. And it may look bleak, but Binky is in position for the flank of a century, and there's an epic plan for how this is gonna go down. Sure, his base is getting bashed in 12 feet from him, but in a tilting scenario like this you cannot compromise on the Andrew Huberman breathing reps, because a refreshed 15 death Shaco is much more effective than a triggered one, and you can see he knew this would be the case as he stands by his nexus, vowing to defend it to his last breath, distracting the alligator with his own life, knowing that every precious second he can keep the reptile slapping him instead of his base will be worth, and by God he had done it. He managed to delay this inevitable defeat by a few more minutes with such a heroic performance. This temporarily opened up the map again, and to be blunt, no fucking Hearthsteel Smolder was going to stand a chance against him, and 3 of his teammates of course, so even though he did somehow manage to still die in this one, I think we can all agree it was a worth 1-for-1 trade. Then look at the mind games this dude is whipping out, way more advanced than you'd expect from someone who is 0-17, but that's just the thing, you think you can underestimate this gesture, but he proves time and time again that you simply can't. You cannot possibly underestimate this savage as he gets run down and bounced on one last time in a performance where no one can doubt his presence, and unfortunately you just win some and you lose some, and this one wasn't his day. Rav out.